So you're from Nottingham New Theatre?
That's right, yes.
And you're here at the Edinburgh Fringe. Could you just give us like a quick spiel about your play?
My play is called Paradise. It is set on a tube station on the London Underground. Anyone who's ever used the London Underground will appreciate that you get a lot of eccentric characters. You know, everyone seems to have an experience with the Nutter on the bus. So that was our original kind of concept. So from that, we developed in rehearsal, devised a series of characters, originally from means of improvisation, solidifying a set of characters that we have. We then give you a snippet of each of their lives in a series of scenes in this tube station. The stories then intertwine around a particular event, and we're allowed to explore the connections of these people who just happen to be in the same place at the same time.
Okay, thank you. I've just seen your show. You're playing to a sort of 90% filled crowd there.
Were we? Oh,
yeah,
good, really?
Yeah, almost, yeah. What's the sort of biggest crowd you ever played to in small acts? Because obviously you don't get this big quickly. Okay,
the smallest crowd I played to was, I think I was about 15, and the youth theatre that I was in, which is the young people's theatre back up in Newcastle where I'm from, we went on a UK tour of sorts, which comprised Oxford, Littlehampton by Portsmouth, and Nottingham, somewhere outside of Nottingham, and back to Newcastle. And I think it was either the Littlehampton venue or the Nottingham venue. We did it at a local theatre, and there was about maybe 14 people in the combined age of 1,000.
Wow.
The biggest crowd I've done was just March, just gone. I was at the National Student Drama Festival, which was in Scarborough, with a production of Mercury Third, which was directed by Nadia, who's the guitarist in the show Dark Hair. And we were in the Joseph Swan Theatre in Scarborough, I think it's called, and it's a venue in the round, seating on all sides, capacity of something like 460, and I think I'm not sure exactly the biggest crowd we got in, but we got over 300 in that, which I think is probably the biggest crowd I've played.
Wow. So if you're from Newcastle, how did you find out about Nottingham Theatre? How were you involved with it?
It's a student theatre company, so I'm studying at Nottingham University, and on campus there is a student-run theatre. So it's operated, well, I don't know, I have no point of comparison because I've never been to another university, but I get the impression it's operated slightly differently from a students' union-run society, in that we run ourselves, and so everything that is done in the theatre is done by students, and we run ourselves as a kind of professional amateur theatre, if you like, with funding coming in from the students' union, which I think allows you a certain amount of freedom.
Yeah. So you must have done a lot of performing to Nottingham, and obviously at the Fringe this year and stuff. How does it compare? Because obviously performing every single night at the Fringe is going to be very different to doing a UK tour. So what are the differences and things? What's the crowd like at the Fringe?
Right, yeah, well, I mean, for starters, we're not doing every night, we're doing every other night. As most people do, we're sharing the venue with another show that's come from Nottingham called The Project.
Oh, yeah.
So we're only doing the odd days, which actually is great. We need to get days off, which is, you know, we get to see other shows, we get a recovery time if we want to go out after our own shows. It's still very hectic, it's very draining, it's fantastic, it's overwhelming, just the amount of shows there are. But you were asking about the crowds, right?
Yeah.
I think what's different, what was nerve-wracking immediately, was that you're not playing the people that you know.
Yeah.
Like, especially with student theatre, you get sucked into performing to your mates, and there's a certain level of comfort and safety in that. And the first night I did at the Fringe was the most nervous I've been in years. I think we had 35 people in, and I think our venue holds 90, but because it's set on 3 sides and the thrust the way it is, when I first looked up and the lighting was quite dim, it looked like 2/3 full, and I was like, oh, there's 60 people that I don't know, and it was just like, I'd got halfway through the first scene before I knew I was doing it. It was much more nerve-wracking, but I mean, crowds have been great, really. The reactions from the crowds have been really great. So
in your whole career of performing things, even though you're in just university, but What's been, because obviously you normally get like, occasionally you get slipped up lines and things, what's the worst failure or something that's gone wrong on stage?
Again with that youth theatre I was in, we did a production of Blood Wedding, and I was playing Woodcutter 1, which, as you can imagine, is like a pretty...
Yeah, that's major.
Yeah, major. At the start of the second act, I was due to start the second act, missed it. Others were sitting there waiting for us for a good sort of 5 minutes, which when you're on stage, a long time, came on and had a coughing fit. Couldn't stop coughing all the way through the next few scenes. That wasn't great.
Finally, because you're at Fringe, obviously, or you're performing every other night, so what else have you seen around? What sort of thing are you interested in? What would you recommend here? I
saw a production called Trench, which, I forget the name of the theatre company now, which is bad, but if you get a chance to go and see Trench, I'd recommend that. It's set in the First World War, and it's kind of a fairy tale structure, told in a third-person narrative in verse. Very good theatre company, used puppetry very well, got us live music done by a guy called Alexander Wolf, who I've been checking out online and have fallen in love with a bit. The music really does make it in a big way. I've also seen a show called Blam, which is wonderfully silly. It's like it's billed as The Office meets Die Hard, and there's loads of special effects and stunts, and it's like an action movie on stage, which was really impressive to see. And the final one I'll say is a show I've seen called From Where I'm Standing, which sort of tells a story in the past, present and future around a bomb explosion in the British Embassy in Mumbai. It's quite difficult to explain what it's about, but again it was really beautifully done, really slick and quite a lot of physical manoeuvring and props and stuff.
Okay, well I think that should be it.
Cool. I'll just say finally, this show we're doing, Paradise, is also in association with Two Magpies Theatre Company, which has just been set up by our director Tom Barnes and Matt Wilkes, which is based in Nottingham and aims to produce fresh and innovative theatre, as we hope this is. Cheers, sorry, just thought I'd throw that little plug in if that's alright.